happening, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Mac and Reed Show right here on Second City Gridiron. For all your Bears news, follow at Second City Gridiron. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Watching us live, welcome. And, of course, it's on the Second City Gridiron channel on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your audio-only podcast as well. Remember to like, subscribe, tell a friend or two. Look up the great articles our cohorts are writing as well at Windy City Gridiron, at WC Gridiron on social media. All the shows, Making Monsters, Bear and Balanced, Bears Banter, good times. I'm Evan Mack. I'm, as always, at 311 Mac, joined by my co-hosts. He got some great FaceTime with the mayor on our Southwest flight back from Baltimore yesterday. He's dressing up as a Labubu for Halloween, and like me, his hangover has sort of finally subsided. He is at Ross Reed on social media. It's Ross Reed, everyone.
Yes, thank you. I'm also dressing up as somebody who's going to be enjoying my mortgage this weekend and staying very close to my sofa after some not love loss in Baltimore, but some good times. Not a great game, not a great outcome, but we want to thank the people of Baltimore for their hospitality.
Charm City, we love you.
Yeah, very fine town. Appreciate everything they did, including the young man who was very nice and punched me in the stomach, the little 9-year-old.
Yeah, if you check Ross's Twitter, another reason to follow at Ross Reed, this very nice, passionate little fan. He was talking trash to us, but not speaking at first, and his uncle or grandfather, whoever it was, came up and said he's nonverbal, but he's basically trashing you. I was like, cool, yeah, all right, nice, that makes sense. Ross got a nice picture with him. A lot of fun at Pickles Pub and going around the great spots around the Inner Harbor. Charm City just never disappoints. Very, very fun times. And, of course, talking about it on the show today, we will talk about that Bears' dreadful loss, 30-16, to snap their 4-game win streak to drop into 4-3. Talk about those Caleb Williams concerns and the team as a whole, as there are many, and what to look for, or how to bounce back, I should say, more so, in another road trip, this time to Cincinnati on Sunday. Joe Flacco and the gang. Talk about the World Series as well. Halloween is around the corner, and Ross thinks that maybe the Bulls are good. Gasp. Stay tuned, baby. Happy Tuesday to everybody, of course. So, yeah, to begin, 30-16. Also a great stadium. I enjoyed M&T Bank. The weather was fantastic. If you want to see my look throughout the throughout the game, that was me next to our dear friend Juan Carlos, next to my dear friend there, and then the lady next to me had been season ticket holders since the 80s, and her husband, and talking a bunch of trash. It was a lot of fun, but that was basically the pose as the Bears really just throughout the game. It really felt like there wasn't a rhythm going, and you knew the story going into the game. We got the news Saturday that Lamar Jackson was not going to be playing, and we're celebrating already and at the Tap House, and then everybody in Baltimore loves Snoop is in Huntley as the backup, and boy, did he perform well, and he gave the Bears all they could handle. I mean, under 200 yards, but he just made the big plays when it mattered. Only completed 17 passes. He took a couple sacks, but again, Baltimore just able to lean on the run game, and Derrick Henry, the Bears didn't have much of an answer for him. Got in for a couple touchdowns. Huntley's scrambling very effectively, 8 rushes for 53 yards, which really was a big difference maker. And the Bears, just the deficiencies, the weaknesses in this team just really reared their ugly head, I feel like, with DeAndre Swift and that run game never getting going once again. I saw too many times in that first half and kind of throughout that game where Ben Johnson calls and in between the tackles, DJ Moore run, and just like, all right, this is what we're trying to do to get back in the game here. And Odunze with a great game, 114 yards, 7 receptions. Obviously, some of that belongs in garbage time, and that one of the best throws we've seen Caleb Williams make was also in garbage time, a one-hander, I believe, to DJ Moore, and it was just all too little, too late. I mean, the Ravens were up 16-6 in the third, and again put up 14 in the fourth quarter. It just really looked like the Bears were lost. That's for sure. And I think that obviously not the same impact that we've seen from TJ Edwards or Tremaine Edmonds. the defense. We knew that the secondary was banged up, and that was going to be a problem. So Zay Flowers really effectively running all over the Bears pretty much for 7 receptions, 53 yards. Um, and there were some opportunities you felt like, but again, outside of that first quarter, where again the same story I kept harping to you guys about it when we were at the game. It's the same story where if you don't settle for those points or you don't get those points early, if you don't convert those field goal drives into touchdowns, it's going to be a long day for you. And sure enough, it was brutal. And then the Bears again end up losing 30-16. I think we have to start with the Caleb Williams conversation because that is really getting the most play in town, even though it was a team loss. And then the things that Ben Johnson brings to the table and was brought to the table to do better, he didn't do Sunday. Caleb Williams didn't do it. The rest of that offense, not great. The offensive line, again, not paving lanes that they have been. And then the defense, just really the injuries in the secondary are rough and the lack of pass rushers. But the Caleb Williams narrative now, redrafted today, you'd be taking Jaden Daniels, Drake May, you'd be taking Bo Nix all ahead of this young man based on the performance. And as defenders of Caleb Williams and those who know that it's going to be about patience with Caleb Williams and the rest of this offense in his first year under Ben Johnson, it's hard to see those deficiencies that he shows and the inaccuracy, the impatience, just things like that where he's supposed to be getting better against not the best competition. We know that Baltimore going into this game was very beatable. You could only imagine how the Bears would have looked against Lamar Jackson. But, to that point, Ross, with Caleb Williams right now, what's the level of concern, if any, right now? Where you at about halfway through the season?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still a big Caleb fan. I'm still a defender of his, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think we're all, we're hoping that it would be looking a lot better than what it does right now. And to me, it's the lack of timing, it's the lack of rhythm, it's the mistakes from him and the entire offense as a whole. Those penalties just were killer. Intentional grounding play that pushes a field goal back that Carlos Santos missed. You can't have those kind of things, right? And so that's what it is. It's the devil is in the details right now with this football team, from the quarterback to the head coach all the way down. So I'm not full on pressing the panic button or calling him a bust or anything like that. But yeah, listen, Drake May looks to be the best quarterback of that draft class so far. Jaden Daniels hasn't really gotten on the field that much this year because he's been injured. But I still have the confidence that Caleb can get better and turn this around. But he's got to do some soul searching. He's got to look in the mirror and he's got to clean up these very, very simple mistakes. I always say so far in his career, he hasn't elevated this football team like you thought a first overall pick would be. I don't think he's necessarily been terrible and brought them down completely, but you thought that he would elevate them. You thought in a game where he was going against Tyler Huntley and a Baltimore Ravens defense that wasn't that good, that he could elevate and take this team to the next level and be able to win a football game on the road. And that would have been a huge win if he got that. And I think those are reasonable expectations that we're just not getting right now. I thought the Bears lost this football game in their first two drives of the game. Your first drive, you go 13 plays, 64 yards. You take 8 minutes off the clock, only a field goal. And then Baltimore gets the ball back in their first possession. They go 3 and out. They punt. And then the Bears get the ball back again. 11 plays, 61 yards, almost 5 minutes of offense, but it's another field goal. And those are the things you have to convert those into touchdowns consistently. If that's a 14-0 ball game heading into the second quarter, I think we're probably having a much different conversation today about the Bears, about Tyler Huntley's performance, about everything as a whole. And that's where it comes down to details from the quarterback to the head coach to the offensive line to the running backs to everybody across the board. They've got to finish these drives. Right now, if you look at the statistics in the NFL, the Bears are actually top 5 in offensive efficiency, and they've been able to move the ball consistently down the field. But you're not going to win many football games in the NFL if you're not getting 6 points instead of 3 points. And they just left a lot of points on the board, especially in that first half, missing out on those 2 touchdowns. Then all of a sudden, the Ravens eventually get their touchdown back. And then obviously the missed field goal at the end of the half was also killer there. So you're looking at basically 11 points off the board, and you instead of you being up at halftime 17-6 or 17-10 or whatever, something like that, you're down 10-6. And then the wheels just kind of fell off from there, and it just got more sloppy, more ugly. Even still, they had an opportunity in the fourth quarter. They were kind of coming back a little bit. Some guys have to make plays. This is where also I bail the quarterback out a little bit. Roman Dunze, when he's scrambling and he makes that unbelievable throw on the sidelines, you're a top 10 pick in the NFL. You have to come down with that football. You have to take that you have to make that catch. And DJ Moore, when you're, I know you're looking for the end zone near the end there and you're trying to get in there, but you also have to know recognition and get out of bounds and try and salvage some clock. Those are bad. It looked like to be a bad miss in the end zone there near the end of the game. And then DJ Moore he didn't keep going on the route like he was supposed to get around Roquan Smith. So this is like you said, a team loss. You don't even want to get me started on this lack of a pass rush right now and how they're able to let Tyler Huntley look like Joe Montana back there and scramble around and make plays. His jersey was clean the entire game, and that's something that also can't happen either. You've got to be able to get some pressure on him, heat him up a little bit as a backup, and force him into his own mistakes.
What I harken back to what you said first is how Caleb just wasn't able to elevate his game, elevate his play, and really uplift his team to get more offensive production, whatever it is. And it's going to take a full year under Ben Johnson and more frankly, because he is, a lot of the defense of Caleb Williams pointed to this being a disastrous rookie year that he was thrown into with Eberflus, where you're almost, you certainly just take that with a grain of salt and you think that it shouldn't almost count against him. And then with Ben Johnson, it's going to take time. It's your first year head coach. He may be this offensive guru, but he has to, again, manage this 53-man roster, manage injuries, manage, all of the play calling, everything top to bottom in the staff. So, again, the defense had been able to bail him out before that, as had the run game. So it's not all on him. It is a team sport. Ultimately, it takes those 22 starters to really go out and win it. And on any given Sunday, man, it's a tough place to play in Baltimore. It doesn't matter. When you have, again, a Hall of Famer back there is Derrick Henry, and all these other, blue chip prospect players who were really playing up and coming up fresh off the bye. Whereas the Bears, they just, I know you said, don't get me started on this Bears pass rush, but it stinks. It's just really from my, vantage point, one of the weakest in the league.
Mm-hmm.
The stats are there to prove that for sure. And then the lack of help in the secondary is really tough to overcome. I think, there were a few key plays where Huntley was able to scramble. And again, just lean on Derrick Henry, able to just make this a pretty one-sided game overall. On the note of the pass rush, it's just brutal to watch. And by the way, of course, I figured that a comment would come like this. You're not putting Tyson Bagent in. It's just not happening. Kill that narrative. Get out of our comments with that, please. It's nonsense.
It is ask mine comment. It's not happening.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, that narrative should never exist to begin with, so it definitely needs to die.
Yeah, it's nuts to think about a world where you would bench your number one overall quarterback and just the starting quarterback when you look at the things he has done right. And I get it. This Bears fan base and all these talking heads on TVs are saying, I have my concerns about Caleb. I think this is the game where I gave up faith on him. No, it's going to take a full season. There's so much working against him. There's a ton that he needs to improve upon. Excuse me. Let's not get it twisted. But he's going to have to do that in the film room. He's going to have to do that on the practice field. He's going to need at least another half a season in front of me before you make any sort of change at the quarterback position. But to that defensive, again, to the defensive pass rush, to the pass rush as a whole deficiencies, it's brutal, Ross. I mean, and you're paying these guys to just be statues over there and not get any sort of pass rush.
I completely agree with you. I mean, you look at what Ryan Poles has done in creating this roster, and he's had some of his own missteps as well. I think when you go out there and you gave Dale that contract to pull him away from the Colts, and it's not a terrible contract, but even with what he's being paid, he's still been very unproductive outside of what he did week one against JJ McCarthy. And then you look at a guy like Josh Sweat, who was also available on the market, came from a Super Bowl caliber team, right? Won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. That guy's only making $3 million more a year than Dial, and he's been absolutely a game wrecker in Arizona. And so I think those are those little things like that. Montez Sweat has not been able to be consistent as well for the contract that he's getting. Grady Jarrett has been in and out the lineup with injuries, and when he's been in the lineup, he's been basically irrelevant as a player. And that's a big thing to me. Is you have to. This is a 53-man roster. This is a team that needs spark all over the place. Special teams is also should be held accountable as well because they're very pedestrian as a unit. Yeah. But you want to see that pass rush start to get better. There's no reason why Tyler Huntley should be able to sit back there and pick your defense apart both in the air and on the ground with his legs. And I know the Bears got 2 sacks. Those 2 sacks for 8 yards. That's just not going to get it done from the defensive side of things, and then he was able to get, like you said, 53 yards on the ground. So, hopefully that'll look better against a guy who's almost as old as me and Joe Flacco this Sunday. But this defense needs to start getting a pass rush. This whole team just needs to clean up their act and a lot of just the little mistakes that they're making right now. And I think Ben Johnson's comments the last couple of weeks have been very telling to me. You can tell he's very frustrated with some veterans on this team. And he's frustrated with some guys who are probably making a lot of money and getting a big paycheck every couple of weeks, and they're not elevating their game to where he wants them to be at. And I think you start to realize now this is year one of his situation, of this program that he's trying to build together with Ryan Poles. And I think you're going to see quite a bit of turnover in the offseason from some veterans that might be a little surprising. But listen, if that's what it is, that's what it is. Get some of these younger guys in here that maybe want to fight and play a little harder. Also doesn't help that you had, a lot of corners out on Sunday as well. Jalen Johnson, of course, not playing. Tyreek Stevenson not playing. Kyler Gordon not playing as well. But that's all the more reason why you really needed that pass rush to step up and elevate, to the next level to be able to give those guys a chance. So it's Tuesday. We have turned the corner. You and I have recovered from a crazy weekend. And, at the end of the day, they're still over 500 right now, and there's still a lot of football left in the season. And, are we getting Flacco this weekend? Are we getting Jake Browning? There's an injury situation there. Right. Regardless of who's playing quarterback, because we thought we were in a good spot last week with Tyler Huntley, go win a football game. You've got to go into Cincinnati, and you've got to clean this up and go win a football game. And if you can get this win, again, start stacking some stuff back up. So 5-3 would feel pretty good. And they kind of need this one because this schedule after this is going to get a little tight.
Pretty hairy.
Yeah, especially after that Giants game. Things start to get really tight. So let's hope that they can clean this up, get back in the lab. I really want to see this offense finish drives with touchdowns. And I want to see this defense being able to rise up without having to always rely on getting one of those turnovers. Because, turnovers are amazing, but you're not going to get 2-3 turnovers every single football game. You're going to have to get very creative and find other ways to get off the football field.
Yeah, it's at the point again where this offense, they just have a lot of work to do in this week of prep here with the red zone issues, with the penalties yet again. That's another recurring theme. And the inaccuracy of Caleb Williams, you got to really improve upon that. I wouldn't mind Jake Moody taking Cairo Santos' spot. I mean, when you figure he was short on that 58-yarder, I mean, I know there's bigger issues at play here, but the way that Moody had played in Cairo's absence just feels like it points to maybe just, giving him the benefit of that going forward. But as you pointed to, Ross, little special teams issues, things like that. And you pointed to the veteran attitude at this point. And that's not good, man. When you're talking about, some of your best players like DJ Moore out there,
Yeah.
Loafin, I know you kind of avoided naming names, but we kind of all knew one of the players we're alluding to at this point. Again, managing this entire roster and keeping the ship, on the course, so to speak, for Ben Johnson is tough in his first year. We know the type of robotic guy he is, and very meticulous, and gets ticked off when there are those again inconsistencies, and certainly where's the consistency of the penalties for the offense, the false starts and everything in between, and the grounding for Caleb Williams. You just can't have him in the NFL in games like this. So huge week to prepare for Ben Johnson for the Bengals. It doesn't matter yet, like you pointed to, who's out there, because whoever is out there gets to throw to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown, seeing a resurgence. Like, this offense is poised to look better than the Ravens did. And let's not forget, they got a great pass rusher in Hendrickson. And you got to go on the road again. You got to play in Cincinnati. And as you said, you want them to get back into 5-3. You want them to get to 5-3. You want them to get back in the winning column. But I think if you play without Tyreek Stevenson again and Kyler Gordon, it's just really tough with Kyler Gordon, who's, flirting. Is he on IR? Is he flirting with IR at this point? It just feels like he is off and on. And if he is rushing back, then they need to figure that out to have some consistency on the defensive end too. Because it's really just not serving them well going forward, and another tough road swing.
Another tough road swing. You look at this offense right now, and to me, you have 17 touchdowns on the season so far. Your opponents have 22 touchdowns against you, and then if you dig deeper into that, one touchdown was week 1 on a pick 6 from Deshaun Wright, right? So that 17 goes down to 16 from the offense. And then 4 of those touchdowns came in one game against the Dallas Cowboys. And so when you take that down, now all of a sudden, your offense is really starting to look pedestrian in terms of the amount of points that they can score. And it's right there. They've only scored 168 points in the season so far. That is by far, last in their division. That's not one of the better offenses in the conference. And, we thought we were getting a high profile offense. But again, take some time, clean up the mistakes. That's the biggest thing that I can say from everybody is to clean up these mistakes and go out there and win a football game on Sunday. That's it. This is still very much a week-to-week league. I don't think this team is any close. I don't think this team is close to a Super Bowl team. But I think they're a fringe playoff team. And I think, when we talk about these veterans, are some of these veterans going to step up and hold each other accountable and, allow themselves to fix mistakes? And there's some guys in this team that I think really need to, be more vocal behind the scenes and also lead on Sundays as well with their own actions. One silver lining to me, I thought Darnell Wright was, again, another outstanding football game from him. He had nearly perfect football game at right tackle. That guy is clearly the best player on the team. He's going to be very expensive in a couple of years when it's extension time. Yeah. But it's well deserved. And so there are a couple guys in that offensive line that I think are playing well. And there's some guys in the offensive line that need to clean it up. I thought Theo Benedict had another very bad game at left tackle. So obviously left tackle is an issue. Braxton Jones is going to be out. So I know they brought in a bunch of bodies, and Kyron, who's their 3rd round pick from a year ago, whatever, is still on injury reserve. But Theo's going to have to play better, and let's see if we can at least against the Bengals, who also you would think don't have a very good defense either. Maybe the Bears can actually start to get multiple touchdowns in this game. I'd like to see 3 to 4 touchdowns. Bare minimum from this offense in this football game. I don't think there's any excuses for that.
Yeah, and on the injury note, it just came out today. It's Tyreek Stevenson, Cole Kmet, and Roshan Johnson all questionable. And we didn't even mention that it was a bad break for Shamar Turner going on IR, tearing his ACL, basically on the opening kickoff, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
They
That
got
was
Austin. They got Austin Booker time, right? So now Austin Booker
Austin
gets activated, and maybe he's a little bit of a spark that can come to this pass rush and be able to make something happen.
Yeah, and I do appreciate those silver linings, Ross. When you talk about when you get certain picks right, who are just out there balling out, and it's been a while since we've seen any Bears offensive lineman play at a Pro Bowl or All Pro caliber. And Darnell Wright's it, man. And I knew that when they drafted him, that he was going to be nasty in there, and he sure has been. But they got to clean it up. The penalties are unacceptable, and I point to everything you did, echo everything you said, point to everything the Bears should be doing on Sunday against the Bengals, and they got to put up some points, and they got to these red zone struggles. I feel like it's just a matter of time before they get it right and figure it out. But a huge spotlight on Caleb Williams, obviously the rest of the way, and he can't tune out all of that. We know he's on social media. He can't tune out that entire narrative of May and Knicks, and hearing the May like MVP conversation.
Yeah.
It may be just noise, but you gotta play up to the level of those guys now that who you're being compared with.
Yeah, and honestly, to be honest with you, like you can't focus on that right now either. You can't be worried about what other players are doing around the league right now, and what other guys in your draft class are doing. I'll be quite frank. I think Drake May is having an amazing season. I think he's an MVP candidate right now. I don't care what he's doing though. Like that's their situation over there. Like that's this is. Things change from week to week to year. Drake May will be here one time, and then next year maybe he's struggling. Look at Jane Daniels right now, who's not even playing football. Like we do this all the time. So you have to lock in and focus on this current situation. I don't care about who's playing quarterback anywhere else. I don't care if Tyler Huntley beats the Bears or Jake Browning. That stuff never matters to me. Fix what you could control in-house. And that's clean up the mistakes. That's tighten up. And it could be sitting across from you, Tom Brady's prime. Guys can get beat. Right. So fix your own stuff and figure it out.
The bigger issue, what not comparing him to other quarterbacks is comparing the good Caleb to the bad Caleb. And we've seen a lot more of the bad than the good right now. And so that young man has to continue to learn. And Ben Johnson, you're hoping that relationship is continuing to grow, and we're going to see the next chapter against the Bengals this Sunday.
Yeah. And I know everybody's talking about the quarterback because that's the hot button thing, and Chicago has never theoretically had an awesome quarterback. But at the end of the day, too, it's on everybody. Everybody's got to step up. Everybody's got to make some plays. There are some players on that offense right now that are not the quarterback that are also not having an ideal season. We talked about DJ Moore, and when you look at him on tape, when you look at him in real time, it doesn't look good. When you look at him on tape, it looks even worse. So, he also needs to figure it out as well. I love Roman Dunze. He's having a Pro Bowl caliber season. He makes some really questionable drops that I want to see him clean up as well from a number one wide receiver. So everybody's got to just focus, lock in at Hallis Hall, clean up your mistakes, go win a football game on Sunday. It's really that simple.
Well said, Ross. We'll do our predictions at the end. Let's go over the rest of the Week 8 scoreboard here and start off with a bang with the Chargers beating the Vikings 37-10, just thumping them. And you just really, when you talk about MVP candidates, you think about what Justin Herbert has been able to do. And even losing Omari and Hampton, they got Kamani Vidal in there, and just whoever he's thrown to. Ladd McConkey kind of has a resurgence. It's looking really good. It was basically good teams versus bad mostly throughout the slate, with the Browns visiting the Patriots, and Patriots able to improve to 6-2 with Drake May throwing 3 touchdowns. The Jets getting their first dub, and Justin Fields. One of the cooler moments when he just was as vulnerable as he was about his process was just really cool to see for the young man. Say what you will about his future as a starting quarterback in the league. There's no doubt that he plays with a lot of heart. The Eagles, unfortunately for the Giants, on top of the loss, losing Cam Scatterboo, but putting 38 up on the Giants. The Bills coming off the bye 40-9 against the Panthers. The Texans getting a probably must-needed win to think about any sort of playoff future, 26-15, and the worst outing we've seen from Christian McCaffrey was very bizarre. Buccaneers 23-3 on a weird quiet day for Baker Mayfield, and then Bo Nix and company. Bo Nix 4 touchdowns, 44-24 against the Cowboys. The Broncos improved to 6-2. And the Colts 38-14. They're the team of the year thus far for me. I mean, unbelievable what they've been able to do. Jonathan Taylor, 2 touchdowns. Daniel Jones doing really well. Pittman with a resurgence. And then it was nice to see the camaraderie between Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers in that win for the Packers. They're 5-1-1, 35-25. And the Chiefs, they're on a bit of a run right now, 28-7. I mean, don't look now. They're 5-3, 4-1 at home. It's tough to play against them for sure. What else stood out in week 8 for you, Ross?
Yeah, I think this is a time of year where, we talk about the Bears, probably not Super Bowl contenders, and you can see it with a loss like that. But I think this is a time of year where the real Super Bowl contenders start to separate themselves from the bad to average teams, right? So you see the Eagles, that's the defending champs, blowing out the Giants, a division game. That's what I expect at this point in the season. And now they go into a bye, they can kind of, get healthy and clean themselves up for a stretch run at the end of the year. Same thing with the Bills, right? The Bills want to win a Super Bowl this year. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to blow out the Panthers. They did it 40-9. That's what you're supposed to do. You talk about the Colts, right? Are the Colts for real? Are they pretenders? And I know that the Titans are a mess right now. They fired their head coach. Their number 1 overall pick is struggling as well. But that's what you do. You win 38-14, and the Broncos 44-24, and the Buccaneers 23-3. These are Super Bowl aspiration teams, and that's what they do. You have to clean it up. Even the Patriots. I think the Patriots have to be in that discussion right now. Of can they go deep into the AFC. And then even that Sunday night game, the Packers winning 35-25, showing that they are the superior team over the Steelers, beating their former QB and Rodgers. And then the same thing on Monday. People thought maybe Marcus Mariota would be able to go into Kansas City and keep that game interesting. He won a playoff game there a long time ago as a quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. And the Chiefs said, no. We, even it was sloppy early on, but they were able to pull away and show you why they're the Kansas City Chiefs. I think this past week, going into this next week, and really now as we head into November, you start to see the top teams separate themselves from everybody else. And then you just hope that, especially the impact players can stay healthy. That sucks for Cam Scatterbo. They weren't really going anywhere this season, but he was having such a fun rookie year. It sucks to see that kind of injury. Those are the things that always, crush me. And, obviously we had a lot of teams on bye weeks as well. The Lions were on a bye week from a divisional standpoint. The Rams are a good football team as well. Yeah. So that's it. That's the end of October. We technically got one more Thursday night game, Ravens Dolphins, and then it's a wrap on October. And then you go into November and it's like, okay, who wants a playoff spot and who wants a bye week and things like that, and also who can stay healthy, because now it starts to be a war of attrition, especially even for a team like the Bears, who they already had their bye week, and now you get your 8th game in the season coming up, and you already have a bunch of injuries, especially on defense.
Yeah, just when you thought that bye week was coming at the right time for the Bears,
yeah,
it's tougher and tougher. And talking about those teams coming off the bye week at the right time, that's such a nice sweet spot, right? Coming off the week 8 bye, preview of the 2 AFC heavyweights going at it, or I should say 2 AFC heavyweights going at it, the Chiefs and the Bills, the game of the week. Mm-hmm. And that'll be on CBS on your TV soon. But yeah, I'm with you as far as I love what I'm seeing from the Colts, and they'll play the Chiefs in a couple weeks, and I want to see them get challenged. On top of that, they still play the Steelers at noon on Sunday, which should be a fun one. The Steelers are kind of a spicy team right there. Mm-hmm. Patriots hosting the Falcons, who are maybe getting Penix back. We'll see. They just had a tough slog. And then divisional games like Vikings-Lions just always, has some sort of level of competition to it. That's for sure. Do you have an MVP pick so far, Ross?
You know what? I think you have to go to Old Faithful. I think it's Patrick Mahomes right now, and I know that could be very cliche and very boring, but I mean, listen, it's Pat Mahomes, and Pat Mahomes is that entire Kansas City Chiefs team, that entire Kansas City Chiefs offense. I think the way that they have had to rotate receivers in and out, and it's Juju Smith-Schuster here, and it's rejects from the Patriots, and then Rashee Rice comes back in. Travis Kelce looks like he needs to sit on the sofa next to me on Sundays now. The running game is basically non-existent. Kareem Hunt is their leaning back, and yet he looks awesome right now. And he's been making some plays, and he's starting to really pick it up. I like the Drake May MVP campaign, but I do think I need to see more, and I think I need to see more against the better teams in the league. Now, he might win it just because they've got the easiest schedule in football, especially in the season. But I want to see a little bit more. But I think Patrick Mahomes is the favorite right now if you were to look on your betting apps, and I think that sounds right. He still is that guy. And I know Josh Allen was maybe trying to take the belt from him, and you got some other quarterbacks that are up there. It is still Patrick Mahomes, NFL.
Uphill battle for Josh Allen for me, and
yeah.
Everything you said about Mahomes. Yeah, everything you said about Mahomes is spot on, and how he's just been able to roll with it, waiting for Rashee Rice to get back and getting them back to winning football. I'm forgetting who it was on Monday night. Devontae Adams was on and talking about how the Chiefs just look like they play backyard football sometimes, and that's largely because Mahomes is just able to do Mahomes things, and Travis Kelce still there's some debate, one of the best tight ends of all time, and still getting Rashee Rice back. I mean, this team is poised to make another run, and we'll see which type of Chiefs team shows up against the Bills. That's always must watch football when him and Allen go head to head. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think if the Chiefs were, this game is also in Buffalo. I think if the Chiefs were to pull this game off and Pat Mahomes has another good game, that might theoretically lock it up with a long time left in the season. And I don't want to dismiss Drake May. I don't even want to dismiss Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones somehow belongs in that conversation too. Even though I think his teammate, Jonathan Taylor, is having the better season. Also, side tangent rant. When did we just stop giving MVP to players that aren't quarterback? Can we?
It's become so quarterback centric. It's mind boggling. Unless you put up 2,000 yards as a running back or a wide receiver,
and even then, they still give you offensive player of the year. It's like, I think Jonathan Taylor deserves a lot of MVP votes for what he's been able to do this season. He's been awesome. He had another 3 touchdowns on Sunday, right?
Yeah,
he's been absolutely phenomenal. So that's my whole side thing. All of a sudden, we just decided quarterbacks need to win Heisman trophies and MVPs every year for the most part. And I think that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, agreed. And look at the season JSN's having, leading wide receivers in the NFL. I agree with you, Jonathan Taylor. When you look at offensive production and just the value of him in the MVP part of it, like, he is just undeniably really good, right there up with Daniel Jones. Switch focus to the World Series, Ross, and goes down game 4 tonight after a 18-inning game last night with Freddie Freeman hitting that homer that sent it to 6-5 after it was like 6 hours 45 minutes. A brutal loss for Toronto, but they got a chance to even the series tonight. You still like this is a much better series than I thought it was going to be, obviously, given the last 3 games.
Yeah, very fun series. A lot of star power out there. We talk about Ohtani. Ohtani's on the bump tonight. He had another massive home run yesterday. Freddie Freeman has turned into the new version of Mr. October after what he did last year and then what he did last night as well. We talked about like Mookie Betts. He had Vladimir Guerrero on the other side and Bo Bichette. It's a fun series. I think the Dodgers have the most talent, but I've been really impressed with what Toronto's been able to do to fight and hang in there. And I think they've got a real chance tonight. I mean, you look at Ohtani is pitching tonight. How does he feel physically after playing that entire game yesterday? Granted, he's a DH, but I think everybody's got to be tired and kind of running on fumes a little bit after that very, very long night. And then you've got to turn it around and go right back at it. And I think the Blue Jays, if they jump on him early and try and swing the bats early, they might be able to tie this up and send it back to Toronto. And I just hope that it keeps going. Yeah, let's keep it going. Let's get 7 games. It's not like weather's a factor. Toronto plays in a dome, and then LA is LA. So I don't care. Who cares if it goes into November or something like that? Let's keep it going. I did not stay up for that game last night. I was
no chance.
I was more than passed out. For those that stayed there last night, I applaud you on a Monday night at 12:30 in the morning.
That's for sure.
You got your money's worth. I'm sure you also got your money's worth trying to hop on the what's the expressway in LA? It's like 406 or whatever, right? Trying to
405, yeah.
405, trying to get on that thing to get home last night. Some probably people didn't get home until like 3:00 in the morning, which just sounds awful. But whatever. You got something to tell your kids and your grandkids about. You went to one of the most fun World Series games in modern history last night.
Yeah, legendary game, that's for sure. And Bulls on a 3-game winning streak. It's exciting. It's almost as exciting as mozzarella pucks, which are coming to which are at the United Center this year. Can I interest you in a mozzarella puck, Ross?
I will have a mozzarella puck after our shenanigans in Baltimore. I need some more leafy greens for the rest of this week, but then after that, you can mozzarella puck me again. Listen, this Bulls team. Yeah, listen, they're fun. I think they don't have a superstar on the team, but I think they've got a surprisingly deep roster and deep bench, and that's even without Kobe White out there right now. And I think you could tell this team plays more cohesively like a team than before, where it was a lot of ball stopping with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine and stuff like that. This is more of what Billy Donovan wants to play going forward. And they're 3-0. And, obviously they're not going to win. They're not going to go 82-0 this year. But if they can surprise some people in a very weak East and, maybe near the trade deadline, maybe you do make a swing and try and get a guy to better this roster. But enjoy the modest Buzelis renaissance right now. And Josh Giddey is a fun young player who's on the contract.
Giddey can step up this year, yeah. I mean,
you get Kobe White back here, hopefully in like another week or so. And it'd be nice to have some fun, meaningful sports all across the board. Hopefully the Bears can stay over 500. We haven't even talked about the Blackhawks, who are actually having a fairly solid season as well for their situation. And we've got a young star in Connor Bedard as well.
First time in 15 years that they all had a winning record in October.
Absolutely. Right? We need it. We deserve it in this city. Hopefully we can keep it going. But yeah, the Hawks right now are 4-3-2. So that's actually surprisingly impressive considering we all thought they were going to stink again this year.
Right. Look at that. And Halloween is almost upon us.
Yes.
It's Friday.
Yes.
How you feeling about it? If you go to Ross's house, you're going to get all the candy corn you want. Maybe elephant ears? Do you pass those out too?
No, we do like those. No, we're traditional. We're right down the middle. Snickers, the Reese's cups, all that stuff.
You gotta play the hits.
The caramel pops. I'm very heavy-handed with, like, if your kid is coming to my house, it's just like, here we go. Here you go. Take some of my kid's candy because he doesn't need it. I don't want any of this stuff in the house after this weekend. Side note, if you do have leftover holiday candy, please donate it to your veterans out there. There are some great charities that take on Halloween candy for veterans and stuff like that. I think it's always a cool thing to do. But yeah, I like the fact it's on a Friday this year because I can at least stand outside and hand out some candy and drink a nice Coors Light or something like that and just enjoy.
I don't know if I want a Coors Light.
Listen.
after the times we had, my friend.
We got a few days to recover.
Yeah, we got a little more time. I'm with you. Yeah, we'll be playing the hits around here as far as the top tier. Which, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we love the Reese's, the Baby Ruth, and Snickers are all very, very on point. I'm a big Reese's Pieces fan. My sister-in-law will go and make cookies with like a lot of the leftover the candy at the end of the day, which the kids don't eat. I'm like, that's brilliant.
I don't have that kind of talent.
I don't either, but there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, that's it for us, everybody. Thanks to everybody for watching, listening in on Second City Gridiron at Second City Gridiron for all the Bears news. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you don't already. The audio only versions on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to tune in throughout the week to Making Monsters, Bear and Balanced, Bear Bones, Bears Banter, all of it. I'm at the Real Evan Mack. Ross is at Ross Reed. What do you got for Bears Bengals?
I think this is a W. We're going to pick another W again. We're going to go Bears 27. We're going to go Bengals 17. And I think that's with some garbage time points from the Bengals. I think if this Bears team wants to be taken seriously for the rest of the season, you got to get this one. You know, the Ravens were backs against the wall. They needed a win to keep their season alive. They did what they needed to do. But this is one where I think the Bears need to step on the Bengals' throats and finish this and get back in the winning column again. We need to hear some good, better, best back in the locker room, hopefully after the Sunday, by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's very murky, like we mentioned about the quarterback situation in Cincinnati right now. So with that in mind, if Jake Browning plays as Joe said, we lose, that's going to be it for the fans. I'm going to take the other end, Ross. I'm going to say they lose the Bears and the offensive struggles continue. And Bengals win 24-19. I hope I'm wrong. I was right last week, unfortunately, by picking against the Bears. But we'll see any given Sunday. But for now, we are going to say deuces. Everybody have a great Halloween. Be safe. Be good to each other. So long, everybody.